This is Jonathan Gill, and this is my first video contribution to the exciting and intriguing, complex picture of ancient history. This video is going to focus on the Gebalites, ancient people of the city of Gebal, which was later renamed Byblos by the Greeks. In this video, we'll refer to them by their original name, the Gebalites. These people are important because they appear to be one of the most ancient post-Ice Age flood civilizations that somehow managed to hold on to the ancient pre-Ice Age knowledge, in particular in the areas of stonework, as well as shipbuilding and seafaring, said to be perhaps the longest continuously inhabited place on Earth, dating back to 8500 BC. The Gebalites, which were later called the Phoenicians, were so far ahead of their time, which is not to say that they were responsible for the most precise and colossal megalithic constructions that we see around the world. But at most of these ancient sites, what we see is 2 to 3 layers of building, often many more than that. And in this way, the Gebalites were able to rebuild sites not only in Gebal and to the northeast in Baalbek, but all the way to Temple Mount and to the Temple of Megiddo, and the original walls of Jericho, which are like the city of Gebal, dated to somewhere around 8000 to 9000 BC, and their work stretches all the way to the rock-cut architecture in Petra. One of the most significant references to the Gebalites is in 1 Kings, when King Solomon sets out to build Temple Mount, and after organizing a massive labor force, he calls on the men of Gebal to select those stones, to design the building, to cut them, orders that they be sawed with saws for precision, and the result was an absolutely amazing construction. And this site looks quite a bit like the site of Baalbek, where the Gebalites certainly had a hand in the rebuilding. The site of Baalbek, of course, is where we find the largest squared stones we know of, some of which are in excess of 2 million pounds. Somehow these were quarried, cut to perfection, lifted, and placed perfectly together on top of others that are also of gargantuan size. If you look carefully at the site of Baalbek, in particular in this picture right here, in the upper left corner you can see where the large stones, though obviously quite a bit smaller than the absolutely massive 2 million pound stones, the ones in the upper left look very much like those used at Temple Mount. And in this way we see rebuilding of ancient sites all over the world. It was the ability to build great ships and sail across the seas that allowed the Gebalites to share their knowledge of rebuilding ancient sites with people as far north as Ireland and as far across the ocean as Peru. When we look at the ancient site of Jericho, which also is said to date to 8000 BC, one of the amazing things we find there is a trench that was dug around the city walls. Apparently 84 million pounds of solid bedrock was removed to create this trench. And it has been suggested that somehow it was done with stone tools, but that does not seem possible. Interesting to note is that Jericho looks quite similar to Göbekli Tepe, which also has been dated to extreme antiquity. And then there's the Gebalite site of the Temple of Megiddo, where when one looks at the bottom of the walls, it's clear that there was a far more precise method of stone cutting and fitting used. And also interesting is that at this site there is a water system which consists of a square shaft, they say descends about 115 feet down, and then turns at a right angle to travel another 300 or so feet until it reaches the water, which sounds similar to the network of shafts and tunnels underneath the Giza Plateau in Egypt. And one more example specifically attributed to the Gebalites is the construction of the city of Tyre, where you see dry stone construction with notched interlocking blocks. The Gebalites, while certainly not the original builders of the most precise and megalithic constructions and sculptures, they are the people that remembered how it was done, even though after the floods they lacked the technology and tools that were used long before their time. With that being said, hope you enjoyed this introduction to the Gebalites. We're going to look at some of my favorite photos of Petra, and then we're going to take a look at some other forms of Cyclopean and polygonal construction around the world, all of which is tied to the history of the Gebalites, either in the sense that they learned how it was done and taught people how to rebuild those sites, or in many cases they themselves had a significant influence on the construction.